Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about testers approach to a security testing project. Agenda for today will be we will start with about the speaker, then we'll talk about the different types of security testing, then we will talk about how to approach a security testing project. It would include the tool scanning, manual audits, three-step approach. So let's start. About the speaker, I am Jitin Chadha. I am founding director at Perfeasy Enterprises Private Limited. We provide testing services to all over the globe. The services include manual testing, automation testing, performance testing, security testing, usability, you name it, and we have it. We are also focused on innovation, and we have already built one AI based patent pending performance testing framework which reduces the performance testing time. So for example, a script can be prepared in just 5 to 10 minutes. Load test scenario will be designed within a minute and can be updated dynamically based on the results from the load test executions. The reporting also happens on the go, so it would save a lot of effort as well as reduce the timelines for the project and reduces a lot of effort from the tester's perspective. I have around 14 years of experience in performance and security testing, and with extensive experience in building as well as managing testing COEs. I have worked as a technical manager as well as performance analyst in projects across different technologies domains like investment banking, insurance, e-commerce, m-commerce, media and content publishing, banking, etc. I have executed more than 140 performance and security testing assignments. I have worked with clients like Adobe, BNP Paribas, Boston Consulting Group, Aon, CMEX in Mexico, Max Life Insurance, Yepme, Snapdeal, and many more. Certifications: I have HP LoadRunner AIS certification. I have IBM Certified Solution Designer for RPT, IBM Certified Specialist for Rational AppScan, and Rational Robo. Let's move on to our today's topic, and the first thing is we'll discuss about types of security testing. First is network security. So this involves looking for vulnerabilities in the network part. So when we say network, it is internet as well as your routers, your desktops, your systems, those things. So that the network or the infrastructure that is used to uh, transfer the data from point 1 to point 2. So here we make sure that the antivirus, the firewalls, the policies configured on the antivirus and other security components are up to the mark. Second one is server hardening. This includes the operating system, database and other software system of the servers. Servers, when we say, it can be a load balancer, it can be a router server, it can be an app server, it can be a database server. So the hardware setup that you have, those should have proper policies set up, proper databases, proper policies, proper backups, proper firewalls, for proper antivirus, and everything should be in set in such a way that no one should be able to intrude into the our systems using these servers, which is called as server hardening. Then there is client side application security. With increasing popularity of mobile devices, the handheld devices like tabs, etc. So and nowadays smart watches and those things are also sending a lot of data, having a lot of personal data of the users. So this client side application security is also becoming very important. Here we make sure that the user or the hacker or someone is not able to mischievously uh, steal your data using some vulnerability on the device side. So mobile app is one of the points that can be manipulated. The smartwatches would have their own servers or the apps. So those apps etc. should be checked, tested properly, configured properly so that the data security happens. Sorry. Then the fourth one is the application security. Here we make sure that the code that is written to make a product or an application, it can be .NET, it can be Java, nowadays Node.js, etc. So those code as well as the technology that are used are so strong and robust so that no one will be able to intrude into the system. For this we do black box testing. When we say black box, it would be about a black box to us where we just hit, we try to break on into the login, we try to break into the registration, the pages, etc. without having any knowledge about what technology is used or what database they are using. What is it? So we have to understand the things and then we do the testing. Second one is gray box testing. Gray box is also called as dynamic testing. So here we do, so black box and gray box both are dynamic, but in gray box the difference is we do interact with the client, the application developers, the server setup, etc. teams, and try to get information about the technology used, the database server, the configuration of the systems, etc. so that we can make relevant attempts only. So it reduces the time to do the testing, and so because we do not need to first identify which database is used or which app server is used, this is already available and we can run the test cases relevant to those database types or the application server types or those configuration or those versions. So here it saves the testing time. Then comes about white box testing. White box is about code, so it is also called as static testing, and here we analyze the code to identify if there is any vulnerability on the code. So code scanning tools are there, even manual audits are done on the code. So there are a lot of things that are done with white box as well, or we say as static testing. Now let's get an overview of how we approach a gray box security testing project. I'm sorry. Prerequisites. So before starting any security testing project, we should already have some knowledge about the communication protocol used by the application. In most of the web or browser based application or the mobile apps, the HTTP HTTPS protocol is used. So we should have some idea about how these request response work and how do we able to manipulate those request response. Then we should have some idea about the SQL queries, some JavaScripts, authorization, authentication, session handling. These concepts should be clear to us so that we are able to create those kind of hacks or those kind of test cases so that we are able to identify the issues properly. Now, first step in any project, be it security, be it performance, be it a manual automation, even for development, first step is to understand the requirements. So here we gather the requirement. Information that we should ask or we should know is what type of application is this, what is the communication protocol used, what are the business critical functionalities, why this is required, so that we can focus more on these things and try to find out logical flaws in the business critical functionalities. Because if someone is able to hack into these things, it would be bigger loss to the customer, maybe in terms of reputation, maybe in terms of financial loss. So here the most important thing is, or the most priority thing for us should be to make sure that there are no logical vulnerabilities present in any of the business critical functionality. When we say business critical functionality, for a banking application, login is one of the very critical. making a transaction, for example, transferring amount from one account to another account is another very business critical functionality. For e-commerce, the payment gateway part, the checkouts, there no one should be able to manipulate the prices of the product, and for example, the person should not be able to buy a higher configuration mobile by paying the amount for a lower configuration mobile. So those kind of business critical functionalities should be tested very thoroughly, and we should make sure that there are no vulnerabilities left in the application. We should also try to understand the version of database, the app servers, if there are any encryptions already used. So we can ask these kind of questions from the client, the business team, or the development, or whatever relevant team point of contact that we get. After completing this requirement gathering, the next step is we should start scanning automated tools, and in parallel we should start the manual audit. When I say tools, so there are a lot of open source as well as commercial tools available in the market. For example, for some open source tool, WebAPI, Arcani, Skipfish, Zap, Burp Proxy, etc. are available in the market. OS is also providing Kali Linux, which is a VM, has a lot of tools already set up into that VM, and we can use that also. And many tools are already available in the market, even commercial ones like AppScan, Nessus, Burpsuit Enterprise. So there are a lot of options available from the rule. It would depend on your application, it would depend on if you can buy the licenses, the budget is there or not. So based on that, we should run the scans using these tools. While the tool is running the scans, we should start manually firing test cases onto the application, and we should try to find out the session issues, the URL issues, the OS top 10 issues basically. Next step is next step starts after the tool completes. So right now the tool scanning is happening, as well as manually we are running our test cases, SQL injections, the cross-site scripting hacks, or the different OS top 10 issues. And in parallel, once this tool scanning is complete, we verify the issues that were identified by the tools. So we verify, because there are a lot of false positives that are raised by all the tools. So if, for example, if we get 100 issues, there can be a possibility that out of those 100, 40 are false positive, which are not the real issues, but because the tool works on the static algorithm, the logics are already built in, so it cannot think like a real person, so it may raise some false alarms. So these we need to identify the false positive and remove them from our report. Once the manual audit as well as these tools issue verification is complete, we should go for the reporting. When I say reporting, we should consolidate all the issues from the manual audit as well as the tool identified issues. When we share the issues, we should give proper details. When I say details, it should be on which screen or which URL the issue was identified, which parameter, which field, which request parameter is vulnerable, where we were able to hit that vulnerability. We should share that. We should share the test case details, like what was the input that we gave into that specific field and what was the output that was generated. We should also take some screenshot, etc. as an evidence and add it into our reports. And if possible, we should also provide some possible remediation or possible fixes to those problems or the vulnerabilities that we have identified. Let's move on to the next things. Now let's go on to a little bit of detail onto when we say we should run a tool scan and manual verification. So why it is important? As I already told, it is important to verify the issues to make sure that we do not raise any false alarms or all the false positives are removed from the reports. So how do we do this identification of false positives? First of all, read the report properly, read each and every issue properly, try and understand. So first one is understand the vulnerability details. What was the input sent by the tool? What was the output? Why it is saying this is a vulnerability, and what kind of vulnerability the tool is raising. So first is very important thing is to that the tester should be able to understand the issue raised by the tool. Then we replicate that issue manually. So manually reproduce or repeat the same, run that same test case onto the same page, same field, same steps perform, and make sure that we are able to reproduce the same issue manually also. And make sure to capture the screenshot for that issue so that we have the evidence that we tried this test case or particular hack and it was successfully answered by the server, application, or whatever issue is there. Then share this issue with your team. So it is I would not say best practice, but it is a good practice to keep on sharing some issues after frequent intervals. Maybe every second day you share a set of issues that you have already identified so that the development team can start looking into the issues. We can also get some feedback about the type of issues that we are raising from the development team, and we get better insights to the application as well. Now, one was that the automation tool should not like we do not raise any false positives, so that is why we are doing this manual verification of the issues. One more benefit that is available to us due to these automated tools is that we as the tools are not able to identify the logical issues. For example, the issue I was saying in the e-commerce site, that I should not be, or a hacker should not be able to buy a higher value mobile phone with the price of a smaller value version. For example, there are two versions, like 16 GB version of a phone and a 64 GB version of a phone. So the hacker should not be able to manipulate the request and buy a 64 GB that mobile phone by paying the price for just 16 GB mobile phone. So those kind of logical flaws are very difficult to identify by these tools. So here manual effort is required. So but the tools also give us some idea about the screens that are vulnerable, where it is easier to hack into the application, or it is easier to enter into the fields. So it gives us a lot of very high idea where we can try to run our advanced test cases and identify higher severity issues onto those fields or those screens, etc. And we can also try to find out some logical flaws using those vulnerabilities itself. Next is manual audit. So there is a three-step approach that we should follow from so this is my experience, this is not something that you will find in anywhere in the written thing. So this is my experience from the projects that we have executed till now. So first step should be, we should target low hanging fruits first. When I say low hanging fruit, this is like start with password cracking, check the cookies that are saved onto the system. So why this helps? Because there are app server, load balancer, database, as well as the login to the application. So try to use the common password. App server, load balancer, database, as we have already discussed with the teams, we know which version or which type of app server is there or which type of database is there. So we can also try to hit or log into those app server, those load balancer using the default password. There are situations where they have not configured the things properly. So these are the things that we should try, and it is very much possible that we are able to hack into the application, or we are able to crack those passwords. Do run some decryption algorithm onto the encrypted passwords, etc., and try to see if you can get some valid information from the password or username or the data that is being sent. For example, we can also use some there are like already available password cracker tools are already available. They can provide common passwords also, and they run dictionary attacks. So if our application has not implemented or enforced very strong password policies, for example, a combination of alphabet, number, special characters, caps and smalls are also required. So those things, if the lesser the conditions, easier it is to crack that password. So if the complexity is less for the password, it is very possible that the password cracker tool may be able to crack the password or username, and you may get the username password very easily. Check the cookies, check the requests that are being sent. If there are any encryptions, etc., try to break those encryption, try to decrypt them. There are many situations where if we decrypt the session ID, it is easily decryptable, and after decryption we get to know the user ID, the timestamps, the passwords. Even passwords are also used to create those encryptions, etc. So try to like look at the cookies, try to look at the requests that are being passed, try to break those things. So there are possibilities that we will be able to identify. So these takes less time, but we may be able to identify very good issues. Manipulate the URL. When we say URL, you can see the get request. So here we see the get request, we can try to hit the command injections using those URLs. We see, so take the URL for example where a form is being submitted. So this form is definitely saving some data on the database, as well as it is sending a lot of parameters to the app server, then to the database. So this is a very good candidate. Here try to manipulate the post request or the get request, the values that are being passed, try to manipulate those and try to see if we are able to hit these values, and if server is accepting these values, or if we are able to get some error messages. Even error messages gives us a lot of good information about the version of the servers, about the database, etc. So these are also informational issues. So try command injection, SQL injection, cross-site scripting. A lot of things can be tried, and we may be able to identify very good issues within very less effort. And known vulnerabilities. When we say known vulnerabilities, this would so there are a lot of I would say databases already, systems are available. You can just do a search and you can find a lot of vulnerabilities that are already known for each type of server, for each type of operating system, for each type of database. This is the requirement. Why during requirement gathering we were asking about the type of servers, we are asking about the versions of the server, the operating systems, etc., so that we are able to identify the known vulnerabilities of the components, the technologies, etc. So these three are very less effort consuming, but issue identification. So initially it is very important to create confidence to the development team, to the client, to the your managers, etc., that yes, you are generating results, because right now the tool is running. So this time we try to utilize in trying to identify these low hanging fruits. So here because like if you have tried identifying the logical issues, the session issues, authentication bypass, those things do take a lot of time. Those are not easy to crack. It takes time for you to build a lot of test cases, a lot of scenarios, try a lot of things, then only you will be able to crack it. But if we do not share any issue, or if we do not update that we are able to identify some issues, then there becomes a trust deficit between our client, our management, our team leads, etc. Everyone will start putting pressure on us to find out some issues, find out some issues. So this step one will help us to make sure that they start getting some results, so that we get some buffer time and we get some time to work on the detailed issues or better or high severity issues. Next is identify interesting issue. When I say interesting issues, One of the example is SQL injection, because if you find out a SQL injection, if you have observed, a lot of people or almost everyone, when we say security testing, everyone knows about SQL injection, cross-site scripting, data manipulation, database error, these things. So if you are able to identify the SQL queries or SQL injections or command injection, those kind of issues, this creates interest into your client manager. Everyone will see, yes, you have identified something. So it is important to first focus on these kind of issues, run those test cases where you are able to identify the SQL injections and maybe even error messages, etc. A database error means that your test case was able to reach up to database, and at least we were able to generate a database error. It was not stopped by the application server, not by the client. So those kind of things should be tried first, and we try to identify so these kind of issues. Cross-site scripting is also one of the good issue, because here we add the scripts, JavaScripts, HTML tags. We can try to create uh, an upload feature into a page that was already there. Even a simple search field, we can enter a HTML request or HTML body into that by manipulating the request, maybe by using the proxy, and it may start showing us an upload field. So those kind of things do happen. So cross-site scripting, SQL injection, some command injection, those kind of issues, I am saying interesting issues, because they raise interest, or the people or the teams, etc. The clients will see that, oh yes, this is good that you have identified. So it is very important to identify these kind of issues first, try these kind of issues first, then go for remaining OS top 10, and then and report those. Step 3 is to make sure that we test the remaining all OS top 10. Try to hit the DOS attacks also, because those are not included in the OS top 10, but they are also very important, because if a DOS attack is possible onto the server, it may cause downtime to the client. So one DOS attack and a few more issues we should also try. And step 3 is to try to identify as many issues as possible. So this was a brief about how do we approach a security testing project. Maybe in coming session we will talk about how we do the run the tools, how do we identify the issue, how do we set a proxy. Those things we may have some future sessions, but right now I believe you have got a feel of how to approach a security testing project. Still, let's do a quick recap of what we have discussed till now. First step was requirement gathering. We understand the uh, type, the technology, the type of server, the database, operating systems, the encryptions, etc. Then run quick automated scanning and identify the false positive. In parallel, we are identifying the low hanging fruits. Here I have mentioned that quick issues. So low hanging fruits, quickly try to break the password, try to hit the URL, try to identify some cookies, issues in the cookies, the data not saved, encryptions are not proper. So those kind of issues we try. Then move on to the interesting issues like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, which say that yes, there is some good issues yet you have identified. And then detailed OS top 10 scanning or testing we perform. We run the test cases for the remaining. We do the audits for the remaining, like logging and monitoring are not test cases, they are more of audit perspective. So if you see the OS top 10, it is about if the logging is done properly and the logs are being monitored properly or not. Then we do the reporting, the consolidated report from the tool as well as the manual audit, and we share the details of the with the screenshots, the error messages, everything. From a project perspective, then these issues are raised to the client team, the development team. Try to get into a call with the relevant people where you present these results and try to understand their perspective, why these issues were there. More information we have about the application, better issues we will be able to identify. Try to interact more with the development, the server teams, etc., and try to get as much information as possible. Then fixes happen, and revalidation, retesting, regression rounds do happen depending on the issues, how many times. Like, we may need 4 round, 5 round, and there can be a situation where the development team fixes everything in the first go. We may end up the activity into 2 rounds itself. Thank you for listening to us. I hope this has helped you to build a good approach to a security testing project, and you will be able to successfully execute a security testing project. We will be happy to take any questions. Please ask whatever queries you have, and we will be happy to answer.